This week, Jonny Robot explores one of the darlings of the Xbox One, Ori and the Blind Forest. We sit down and spend some time with the new city builder on the block, Cities Skylines, and Suda51 joins us for a quick chat about his upcoming PS4 exclusive, Let It Die. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week we wanted to start things off with a nifty tidbit that was just too late to make it into last week's horror episode. Yep. Announced on Friday the 13th, Mortal Kombat X developer NetherRealm has confirmed that everybody's favourite hockey mask wearing killer Jason Voorhees will be one of the 4 additional combatants included in the Combat Pack, the Mortal Kombat X version of the Season Pass. However, Jason's inclusion might not be enough to keep older console fans happy. While the Xbox One, PS4 and PC versions are on track for launch on April 16, the PS3 and Xbox 360 editions of the game have been delayed by a few months, now out in the Australian winter. Something else that's not headed to last-gen consoles at all is Uncharted 4, which has also just been delayed. It seems the game has become much more ambitious than originally envisioned, which is why it's still nearly a year away from release. The team at Naughty Dog understand that the wait will be excruciating, but promise that Uncharted 4 will be worth it in the end when it finally launches for PlayStation 4 around this time next year. One group that won't be finding the delay too painful, however, is Crystal Dynamics, who is releasing Rise of the Tomb Raider on Xbox One just in time for Christmas. Looks like Lara Croft won't have too much action-adventure competition this time around. There's some more, less positive news for Sony too, as details come to light about the way the company handles refunds. A PS4 gamer had his PSN account hacked, his PS4 deactivated, and his kidnapped account used to purchase more than $600 worth of games. After chats with PlayStation support, Sony promised to refund the gamer, but only some of the money. You're only able to have $150 in your PlayStation Network wallet at any one time, so that is the total the company would give back. The gamer was invited to request a chargeback from his bank, but that process would also see Sony ban his PSN account that is under investigation. As if all that wasn't enough, Sony also has a policy that limits the number of times you can deactivate a PSN account from a PS4, meaning that even if the gamer got his account back, he won't be able to reactivate it on his own console for the next 6 months. Skipping to another console manufacturer for now, Microsoft is exploring claims that the Turkish government is planning to ban Minecraft. Allegedly, the game encourages children to resort to violence, become isolated and kill small animals, all things the Turkish Family and Social Policies Ministry finds offensive. However, despite the rumours, the ministry isn't actually capable of banning a game outright. Instead, its primary task is to raise awareness of issues and, if necessary, compel content creators, such as Microsoft and Mojang, to create modifications as a result of any complaints. If the government does decide that Minecraft needs to be made less violent, a solution is actually already built into the game. Included in all copies of Minecraft is both Creative Mode and the Peaceful setting, both of which prevent monsters from appearing and encourage cooperation and creativity. It would be a relatively simple process to hardwire either of these two options into a Turkish-specific version, keeping the government and the gamers happy. Moving right along, Titanfall 2 is officially in development, even though neither Respawn nor EA have made any formal announcements just yet. It also won't be called that, but we do know that it is a sequel to last year's Xbox exclusive. This time around, the game is promising to be a multi-platform release, hitting PS4 as well as Xbox One and PC, and the studio is already hinting at releasing DLC in the same way that Evolve has, that is, free maps available to all players. The company has already taken the first steps towards that business model, announcing that all DLC packs and the Season Pass for the original Titanfall are all now available free of charge. Harmonix is happily at work on Rock Band 4 and they want to know what you want to hear in the game. Obviously, not all of your requests will make it through, but if enough people request a certain song via the form on their website, it has a much better chance than if it's unknown. Grand Theft Auto is headed to TV, but probably not in the way you'd expect. Rather than a movie or a series about Michael, Trevor and Franklin, a factual drama is planned based on the Hauser brothers, now in the works at the BBC. The 90-minute feature will look at the real people behind the game's development and forms part of an initiative to make Britain more tech-savvy. Brand new footage has officially made its way out of Boss Key, Cliff Bleszinski's new development company. It's our first look at brand new game Blue Streak, and even though it's in-engine pre-alpha footage of an in-progress map, it's certainly showing some potential. Boss Key is working with Cliff's old employers, Epic Games, as well as Nexon America to produce a super shiny free-to-play PC shooter due out sometime in the future. And finally this week, 2 Swedish airports have taken an interesting approach to helping travellers dispose of unwanted foreign coins. Rather than simply leaving boring donation boxes, visitors at Stockholm and Göteborg airports can now play classic arcade games regardless of which currency they hold. Games on show currently include Ms. Pac-Man, Space Invaders and Galaga, but if the idea takes off, pardon the pun, we are expecting to see plenty more. Travellers are invited to play with whatever leftover coins they have in their pockets, and all proceeds go to the Red Cross. For more information on any of these stories, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, got plenty more still to come. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen from Player Attack. I'm here at E3 2014 and it's my very, very great pleasure to be standing next to Suda51. We are talking about Let It Die, which was just revealed yesterday. We heard about it as Lily Bergamo, and now this is the first time we've seen it as Let It Die. It looks amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
As you know, last year we announced the title Lily Bergamo, and while we're developing Lily Bergamo, we had a bunch of design sessions and whatnot, and this is basically what the title has evolved to. Utilizing the PS4, we have this feature where we use the player data, and the player data becomes your enemy data, so basically you're playing against real players. And that feature is going to be the main feature that utilizes PS4, so that's why we kind of chose PS4. And basically, the Let It Die title is a representation of the game, so it was better suited for this game.
This is a PS4 exclusive. We saw it shown off at the PlayStation press conference the other day. Have you been working closely with Sony to make sure that everything that you want the game to be doing so that you can be fighting against real people can actually be achieved?
So yes, we have talked to Sony, we talked to SEA, they saw our playable, they saw the trailer and they were really happy about it. So actually Suda-san wasn't planning on coming to E3? But with the conversation with Sony, he figured might as well show the trailer and then show up for E3.
You have become a bit of an icon for making some fairly unique and very interesting games. Is Let It Die a Suda51 game that people would expect from you?
これまでのグラスホッパーのゲームというの逆に僕自身
So with this title, not only him, but also every team member of Grasshopper actually wants to break that mold of what they did in the past and come up with something new. So he wants to keep the fans that he had previously, but then he wants those fans to expect something new out of Grasshopper.
Speaking of Grasshopper Manufacture, which is your studio, you recently became part of the Gung Ho family. What's it been like transitioning from an independent studio to being part of something bigger?
いい意味で変わりましたし、 So now that Grasshopper is part of the Gun-Ho family, there are obviously good things, and then there are also things that he's keeping from previous experiences. And for Gun-Ho, the main purpose of developing a game is making something fun, and it comes from the top down. And Mr. Morishita, who's the top of Gun-Ho, he is an avid gamer, and the main part of development, main theme is making something fun. So Sura-san is able to concentrate on the design, making something fun, rather than a lot of the finances and all the the company stuff that he had to deal with before. So in a good way, he thinks that it's going to reflect on his game.
So that's a really interesting idea that a player can become part of the bigger picture once they died. How does that work?
Yeah. 今回はですね、非同期オンライン、どういうものかというとね、これ説明用意しましたね。要はですね、世界中のプレイヤーが遊んで、そして各プレイヤーがゲームの中で死んでしまいます。ただ普通のゲームというのはですね、そこで終わりなんですね。
So as I mentioned previously, one of the key features of this game is that player enemy data, once they die, they become part of the game. In usual games, players can continue, players just die, data doesn't go somewhere. But for this, their player data, that makes up the world. So the more of the people play, the more data there is, the more interesting the game's going to get.
このゲームは構築されているという。面白いですね。
Sometimes, an opportunity exists for the people to voice their support for something different. Now, that opportunity's presented itself with what to do with an empty lot, right in the heart of City Skylines.
There are two things you need to know about Cities Skylines. Neither one is really about the game itself, but both have left an indelible mark on the latest title from Colossal Order. Firstly, when the game was first announced back in 2014, there were 9 people working in the studio. That number has since increased, but not by much, meaning that this ambitious project was created by a team even smaller than the competition's quality assurance department. Secondly, the competition. It's impossible to talk about City Skylines without acknowledging that the game exists beneath the fairly large, fairly dark shadow of SimCity, which has been cast over the city building genre since 1989. Skylines launching as it did in early March 2015, just days after the closure of SimCity studio Maxis, seemed serendipitous. After the not quite there of 2013 SimCity, could this be the city builder we so desperately wanted? In a word, yes. In some more words, very probably yes if you are prepared to inevitably gain a few features at the expense of others and maybe put up with graphics that aren't quite at EA's level of polish. Particularly yes if you're the sort of person who loves modding and content creation, who lives to fine-tune traffic patterns, or who gets a giggle out of computer-generated fake Twitter accounts. And no, it's not perfect, but it's exactly what you get. Cities Skylines feels like it looked at 2013 SimCity and decided to fix all the things that were broken. The map size is huge, and not just in comparison to the cramped blocks we've become used to. With a map spreading a massive 36 square kilometres, it's possible to build a city that's more than just a sprawling metropolis. We're talking regional centres, secondary business districts, and possibly even that retirement village tucked away around the corner. Each of these districts, or neighbourhoods, or boroughs, or whatever you want to call them, can be uniquely named and identified, and each one given its own set of laws. If you'd like to ban high-rise buildings near the beach, go for it. Create a forestry district or an oil district, depending on whether you want the skyline dominated by trees or smokestacks. Legalise drugs only where the crime rate is high, it'll lower the crime rate and increase taxes at the same time. A fact that stands alone. You can play Cities Skylines offline. Once you've downloaded the game, you don't need to be online to play. You don't really need to be online ever again unless you want to grab the latest update or perhaps download modded content. Because yes, there is modded content and a lot of it already available for your cities. This could be as simple as a new look coffee shop, or perhaps a retooled power station, or a more neatly designed intersection complete with pedestrian walkways. It is worth noting that the graphics in Skylines aren't quite as super slick and shiny as we saw in the latest SimCity, but that doesn't matter. You can still zoom right in and see crowds of pixel people walking to work or home or school. You can follow a donut truck as it zips into your city from next door with a delivery for the corner store, and if you watch carefully you might catch the reflection of its tail lights in a shop window. It's detailed, but it's not polished. It's a case of putting substance before style, a balance that EA might have weighted in the other direction. Skylines does seem to miss the mark on something that SimCity got spectacularly right, however: traffic management. You can design the most perfect city with wide, multi-lane roads and dozens of route options, but the inner city truck drivers will stick to the same path they always have, causing bottlenecks and gridlocks that prevent services from being completed and approval ratings to plummet. In City Skylines, you are given the mind-numbing task of connecting pipes for water and sewage, constructing electric pylons, and ensuring that everything is running smoothly. Yes, this is the lifeblood of this sort of game, but sometimes it can get a little all-encompassing. As soothing as it might be to redesign the most efficient plumbing system for your new city, sometimes it's more rewarding to go create a new industrial zone or something. An aching gap in City Skylines, for me at least, is the lack, at this stage, of problem-solving scenarios like my beloved Dullsville. But that could just be for now. A pre-built city is just another mod, right? And people are developing those all the time. So before too long I might be able to put my mayor hat on and save the city from crippling boredom once again. Cities Skylines is officially Paradox Interactive's fastest selling game to date, moving more than 250,000 copies in its first 24 hours on sale. As a result, the game, which was virtually unknown just a week ago, is seeing a massive rise in piracy, but Paradox has a plan. Make the game even better through constant free updates, which are easily accessed via Steam. The theory is, if you make the legitimate game the most simple option, people are going to be happy to pay. It worked before with Magicka, it should work again with Cities Skylines. It's commonly believed that EA shut down Maxis because people didn't want city builders anymore. Looking at the world's reaction to Cities Skylines, it looks like people didn't want EA's city builders anymore. The genre is anything but a ghost town.
Ori and the Blind Forest is one deceptive son of a gun. There I was, expecting a casual yet enjoyable platformer, and why wouldn't I? The boot up tile, it shows our protagonist and friend just hugging it out. The title, it sounds like a fable you tell kids to make them think twice about the coolness of littering. The art style, it looks like something Studio Ghibli would put out. So does any of this scream brutal, unforgiving platformer to you? No? It didn't to me either, and you know what? I really kinda dug that surprise. Ori and the Blind Forest starts off strong and wastes no time finding your feels and proceeding to punch directly through them. Taking a page from Up's How to Make an Intro That Causes You Lose 80% of Your Bodily Fluid in Tears approach, we're introduced to our protagonist Ori. Ori is a tree sprite who got separated from the equivalent of this world's Deku tree by a wicked evil owl. Being as its nature is wicked evil, the owl then decided to also kill the tree sprite, causing nature to flip out. You know, the usual forest dying, water turning to poison, superbugs taking over kind of deal. Ori, being the last remaining of the sprites, must go on a quest to gather the 3 elemental MacGuffins and bring the spirit tree back to life. Regardless of this not-so-original overarching story, the first 10 minutes does an amazing job of establishing Ori as a character, the world he inhabits, and Ori's own personal quest without use of dialogue or anything really but universal emotion and an amazing score. It's basically like playing a Pixar short, insanely gorgeous visuals and all. You know what? Insanely gorgeous is probably underselling how good this game looks, but I'm at a loss for better adjectives. Ori's 2D world is presented in a beautiful watercolor art style, which is given depth by LED backgrounds and foregrounds, all enveloped by this mysterious radiant lighting. Working in pure harmony with this art style is a subtle and smooth animation for pretty much everything. Flowers bob as you brush by them, water ripples, the world just feels alive and engaging, demanding that you explore it, and explore it you shall. As surprising as this may be, Ori isn't just a pretty thing to look at. Oh no. At its core, it's a brutal Metroidvania style platformer. Thankfully the controls are spot on here. Ori feels light and nimble, with just the right amount of aftertouch mid-jump to navigate the countless deaths that await her. Prepare to rely on twitch reflexes and patience. I'm talking Super Meat Boy and Dark Souls comparisons here. Who would have seen that coming? Being as it's taking the Metroidvania approach to level design, the world is one big old sprawling map, with your progression hindered by ledges just out of reach and walls with cracks in, which totally look like they could be exploded or something. As you progress through the game, you unlock extra abilities like everybody's favorite double jump, wall climbing, and a nifty glide. Every new ability you gain comes with a real sense of empowerment, with the game demanding that you master them, often making you string multiple moves together to overcome some of the bigger challenges. The most interesting ability Ori gains is something called the Dash and Bash. It's kind of a counter move where pressing Y near an enemy, projectile, or lantern will allow you to launch them in any direction you choose. Not only is this ability used for launching yourself through some ridiculous encounters, and I'm talking ridiculous, you can also use it to fling projectiles back at enemies or throw them into spiked walls, if that's your kind of messed up thing. The other rad ability at Ori's disposal is Soul Link, which allows you to create your own checkpoint. That's right, you create the checkpoints. It uses up some of your energy that you use for other abilities and more powerful attacks, which creates a real risk-reward system. The amount of times I've forgotten to make one, or sometimes when I just felt way too awesome to need one, I lost like a whole area's worth of progression. God damn you, hubris. Ori and the Blind Forest is a game that is really hard to fault. Its art style is stellar, the gameplay on point, and it effectively breathes new life into the old Metroidvania-style platformers. If I had to scrape the bottom of the barrel for one criticism, it'd be that sometimes, when things get really real, projectiles become camouflaged amongst all the other glowing orbs on screen. But seriously, that ain't no thing. If you dig platformers, exploring, art, or, just drinking 6 cans of Red Bull and posting inhuman speedruns on leaderboards, get on this. Like, get on it now. Yeah, screw it, I'm gonna go play it now.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're taking a little time to get better acquainted with World of Warships, the latest from World of Tanks developer Wargaming, while Jonny Robot creates a custom character and jumps into Dragon Ball Xenoverse, the first of its kind in the franchise. In the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.